Hello, this is James Aguirre.
This is Eric Marshall.
And we are reporting to you about the background information on the Far East. The Far East consists of the countries
Singapore, Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, China, the Koreas, and Japan.
The Far East is located in East Asia. There's an approximate population of 1.8 billion people living there. The average GDP per capita is around 12,851. In this past year, this rural area has gotten worse and worse, or at least for some parts. An 8.9 earthquake hit Japan, and soon after that followed a huge tsunami, destroying a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, that was really terrible. Many lives were lost.
Economically, this area isn't doing too well. With all the destruction caused by the earthquakes and tsunami, the money needed to try to rebuild Japan is going to be outrageous. But in other countries like China and South Korea, they are doing pretty well economically.
Politically, in the Far East, there's been problems. The types of governments range from democratic governments to dictatorships. Many countries in the area don't get along, like, for example, North and South Korea. These disputes create political, economical, and social problems.
Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore are doing very well socially. Not many people in these countries are poor, and almost all of them are very well educated. On the other hand, countries like China, Malaysia, Vietnam have more poor people, and not everyone receives a good education.
Let's take a better look at the earthquake. Here's Jessica with more on the tsunami.
Yo, Eric, did you hear what happened in Japan?
No, James, I didn't. Tell us more!
A ferocious tsunami spawned by one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded slammed Japan's east coast on Friday, killing hundreds of people as it swept away boats, cars, and homes, and sprouted many wildfires that burned out of control.
The earthquake magnitude was an 8.9. Hours later, it hit Hawaii. It was led with more than 50 aftershocks, more than 6.0 magnitude.
The government ordered thousands of residents near a nuclear power plant in Onahama City to move back at least 2 miles or 3 kilometers from the plant. The reactor was not leaking, but its core remained hot, even after a shutdown. The plant is around 170 miles or 270 kilometers away from Tokyo City.
It reportedly was one of 5 Japanese nuclear reactors that lost cooling ability, prompting a race against the clock to install fixes.
Radiation levels have fallen at Japan's earthquake-stricken Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. The government says
The levels have spiked to harmful levels after a fire and 2 explosions at the site. Weather reports say winds are blowing radiation from the plant on Japan's northeast coast over the Pacific.
Friday's 9.0 magnitude quake and tsunami devastated Japan's northeast coast, with more than 3,000 confirmed deaths, dead, and thousands missing.
Officials have warned people within 20 to 30 kilometers of the nuclear power plant to either have leave or stay indoors.
Japan has also announced a 30-kilometer no-fly zone around the site to prevent planes spreading the radiation further afield.
On the surface, Tokyo is deceptively normal.
But look a bit closer, and the concern people are feeling here about radiation leaks is clear.
There are fewer cars on the street than normal. There are queues an hour long for more petrol. Shelves are bare in some shops, and people buy up food. Tokyo's stock market has seen 2 days of heavy losses. Foreigners have been leaving in increasing numbers. Adding to the jitters, just as people were going to bed Tuesday night, there was another tremor. This time a bit larger and longer than before. But most people remained inside their homes and went to sleep. Further strong aftershocks continued to rock the country. An earthquake, not considered an aftershock, of magnitude 6.2, centered southwest of Tokyo, shook buildings in the capital.
This earthquake was the strongest in Japan since records began to be kept. It hit the northeast of the main island of Honshu and triggered a powerful tsunami that devastated dozens of coastal communities. The latest official death toll from the quake and tsunami stands at more than 3,000, but thousands of people are missing and it is feared at least 10,000 may have been killed. More than 500,000 people have been made homeless. The government has deployed 100,000 troops to lead the aid effort.
There's over $1 billion worth of damage in Japan.
And we're back!
Welcome.
Thank you, Jessica and Tiffany, for that awesome report. Very interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting information about that tsunami. That was terrible.
Well spoken. We're back to talk to you about the China and U.S. economic relations and all about that. The rise of China from a poor, stagnant country to a major economic power within a time span of only 28 years is often described by analysis as one of the greatest economic success stories in modern times. China holds a large amount of U.S. government securities. Of China's $2.3 trillion in official reserves, it is estimated that 70% is held in U.S. dollar assets. China is a big customer for U.S. debt, but it is not America's banker. Nor is the United States dependent on China to finance its budget deficits. China's economic rise has led to a substantial growth in U.S.-China economic relations. Total trade between the two countries has gone from $4.9 billion in 1980 to an estimated $343 billion in 2006. For the United States, China is now its second largest trading partner, its fourth largest export market, and its second largest source of imports.
However, the emergence of China as an economic superpower has raised the concern among the U.S. policymakers. Some express concern that China will overtake the United States as the world's largest trade economy in a few years, and as the world's largest economy within the next 2 decades. In this context, China's rise is viewed as America's relative decline.
Another concern are the large and growing U.S. trade deficits with China, which have risen from $10.4 billion in 1990 to an estimated $232 billion in 2006, and are viewed by many members as an indicator that China uses unfair trade practices to flood U.S. markets with low-cost goods and to restrict U.S. exports, and that such practices threaten American jobs, wages, and living standards. Many warn that this situation will get worse as China increasingly moves toward production and export of more high-value products, such as cars and computers.
Many ideas surrounding the economic relationship between the United States and China. The fact that China has become the largest foreign holder of the United States' government securities is taken as indicating that the United States is heavily dependent on China to finance its budget, seen as dependent on cheap Chinese goods.
In addition, the Chinese authorities have emphasized that they strongly resist external pressures to try to influence policy decisions, and that economic instability in China is bad, with adverse implications for the rest of the world. Taken together, this could lead to the conclusion that China should not be pushed hard by the United States to more quickly change its policy, especially its exchange rate policy. Thank you very much.
And here's Jessica and Tiffany again with the next report.